Testing the audio on the live stream. All right, very good. We are good on video and audio on the live stream, Dr. Schottenstein, if you'd like to go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you. Everybody can hear me okay? Yes, okay. So the time is 9:02 a.m. The April 8th, 2020 meeting of the State Medical Board will come to order with the following members present via video conference. Dr. Rockenwell?
Present.
Dr. Safran?
Present.
Mr. Jacqueline? Dr. Sohn? Dr. Sohn?
President. I had to unmute, sorry. Present.
No worries. Dr. Edgen?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Present.
Ms. Montgomery?
Here.
Dr. Feibel?
Present.
Dr. Becker? Present. And myself, Michael Schottenstein. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2020 board meeting as drafted?
So moved. Second.
Dr. Becker? Dr. Safran, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the March 18th, 2020 special board meeting as drafted?
Second.
Dr. Safran and Dr. Edgen. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The board will now consider the reports and recommendations appearing on today's agenda. As each member of the board received, read, and considered the current record, the findings of fact, conclusions, and today's orders, and any objections filed in the matters of James S. Hurwitz, MD, David M. Ringo, and W. L. Gregory Stephen, MD. Roll call. Dr. Rockenwell?
Yes.
Dr. Safran?
Yes.
Mr. Jacqueline?
Yes.
Dr. Stone?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Becker?
Yes.
Myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Further, does each member of the board understand that the board's disciplinary guidelines do not permit any sanction to be imposed, and that the range of sanctions available in each matter runs from dismissal, permanent revocation, or permanent denial? Roll call, please. Dr. Rockenwell?
Yes.
Dr. Safran?
Yes.
Mr. Jacqueline?
Yes.
Dr. Sohn?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel? Dr. Feibel? Jonathan? Dr. Feibel? I think he got kicked off.
There it is.
Dr. Feibel, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Jonathan?
I don't see his feed anywhere.
I don't know.
He's connected.
If he rejoins us, we'll need to ask him that. Oh, there he is rejoining us right now.
Can you hear us, John?
Yeah, yes, sorry.
Okay, great, thank you. No, not at all, not at all. Dr. Becker?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes, thank you. Does each member of the board understand that in each matter eligible for a fine, the board's final guidelines allow for imposition of a range of civil penalties from no fine to the statutory maximum amount of $20,000? Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermere?
Yes.
Dr. Safran?
Yes.
Mr. Jacqueline?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan? Dr. Sloan?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes,
Dr. Becker?
Yes.
Myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. In accordance with the provision in Ohio Revised Code 4731.22.2, specifying that no member of the board who supervises the investigation of the case shall participate in further adjudication of the case, the secretary and supervising member must abstain from further participation in adjudication of matters. In the disciplinary matters before the board today, Dr. Rockenwell served as secretary and Dr. Safran served as supervising member. In addition, Dr. Becker served as secretary and supervising member of the board. During these proceedings, no long motions may be made by either party. No respondent on today's agenda have wanted to address the board. The board's respondents and their attorneys remotely and have a number to call in the event of an emergency or procedural concern. Please turn to the matter of James S. Robinson, MD. No objections have been filed. Ms. Shemansky was the hearing examiner. Is there a motion to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and order in the matter of Dr. Purvis?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Bessel? Dr. Edge, thank you. I will now entertain discussion concerning the matter of Dr. Purvis. Is there any discussion? So I guess I have a few thoughts in the matter of Dr. Purvis, if I may. I felt like this was a really concerning fact pattern. You know, the doctor indicated in testimony that he's inclined to resume the practice of invasive plastic surgery and hand surgery, but although he has been practicing medicine for 47 years, he has not practiced invasive surgery for about 14 years, and there have been many changes in the field in that time. His board certification from the 1980s is grandfathered, so he's never recertified in all that time. His license was revoked in California, and the revocation was stayed twice due to what appeared to be very legitimate concerns. I don't think the doctor's a good candidate for licensure. I found myself trying to amend the order to place guardrail after guardrail to try to satisfy myself that he would be safe to practice. And at some point, I just couldn't. I think the proposed order should be to deny the license. Since I'm presiding officer, I can't make that motion. I'd entertain a motion to amend the order to deny the application for license if anyone was inclined.
I would agree. In 2002 and 2004, Dr. Hurwitz was sanctioned by the California Medical Board for failure to maintain accurate records and gross negligence. One of the cases was truly terrifying. It was related to an abdominoplasty where he failed to recognize a major complication and handled the case well below the standards of care. In addition, he didn't offer an OPNO for 14 months, which is unheard of. It's very concerning behavior. There were multiple other examples. He was placed on probation for 9 years. While he hasn't had any issues that we know of since then, he hasn't practiced invasive plastic surgery, as Dr. Johnson said since then. Since his license will allow him to practice plastic surgery invasively, this makes me very concerned to grant him an unrestricted license to practice. He is board certified, as Dr. Johnson said, but is not recertified since 1980. And I was going to ask for other opinions of the board members, but I now have at least one, so I will be happy to make the motion that we deny the application of James Hurwitz.
My second. Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Dr. Decker, seconds. Thank you. Is there further discussion? Mr.
I note that,
Oh, Ms. McCombie, sorry.
I'm sorry, I note that, at some point they talked about observing him maybe at least 5 times. And yet I think he spoke about doing some locum tenens work, and I don't know how that would work anyway. So I would agree, and perhaps you can eliminate, but I would agree to see a patient unloaded into a private vehicle and semi-conscious seems to me below so below the standard of care to trust that he should be have a license.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Mr. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think that this one's really concerning, and I think some of the excuses or rationale he provides is a bit suspect too. He has a minimum patient load right now. He says it's overcrowded for specialties in plastic surgery in California, which I never believe I never did in California, had the lack of plastic surgery, or surplus, I should say. And just the thought of this individual who has minimum experience, has a terrible track record doing locum tenens work in our state is a bit frightening. So I would agree with the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. Is there further discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call, please. And this is to have a motion to amend. Sorry, this is for the amendment. Dr. Rathamo.
Abstain.
Dr. Sappin.
Abstain.
Mr. Jacqueline.
Yes.
Dr. Stone.
Yes.
Dr. Edgen.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Donadakis. Mr. Donadakis, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. Sorry.
Thank you. No worries. Ms. Montgomery.
Yes.
Dr. Feigl.
Yes.
Dr. Beckel.
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and order as amended in the matter of Dr. Hurwitz?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel and
Second.
Dr. Etchen, thank you. Before voting on the motion to approve and confirm as amended, is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron,
Stay.
Mr. Jackalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Etchen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Gamatakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feiler,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. Let's please turn to the matter of David and Ringo DO. No objections have been filed. Ms. Shemansky was the hearing examiner. Is there a motion to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and order in the matter of Dr. Ringo?
So moved.
Dr. Johnson, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Could you have a scoop?
Point.
Oh, Dr. Stone, thank you so much. I will now entertain discussion concerning the matter of Dr. Ringo. Is there any discussion? So I think what's a little unusual about this case is that the doctor has not been licensed in Ohio since 2004. He has not applied for restoration of his license to practice here. He should have jurisdiction over expired licenses, and sometimes certain factors align that prompt us to take action. So in this case, the doctor's criminal conviction involves controlled substances. Kentucky placed a permanent limitation on his license, and he's working in a state that's contiguous with Ohio. The doctor asked us to adopt restrictions similar to those of the Indiana order, but I'm not sure how we adopt restrictions on a license when there is no license and no license application which allows us to grant it with conditions. So I think the proposed order makes sense to non-permanently revoke the license. That way the doctor may reapply, and at that point, if we choose to grant the license, we may adopt conditions on the license that we feel are appropriate. Further discussion? Mr. Montgomery, sorry.
I agree with you. May I ask you a question?
Please.
When were we notified about the indictment or plea? Because there's no date. If you look at the recitation in the comments by our hearing officer, there's no, we don't have a date on, that I could find. On the 19-count indictment in Indiana, that I think was in 2016. I mean, if we move through other things, but I noticed in our final, in recommendations in the, made, when were we as a board notified? Rebecca, do you have that information?
I don't have that information. It would not be unusual for us not to be notified for an out-of-state indictment until there was a conviction, but I don't have that in front of me for this particular case.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, I don't see his actions as being super egregious, depending on his court judgment that got him into the situation. If, you're an examiner, I think it makes sense, figures that this is an opportunity to rehabilitate his license for Ohio. I think that makes sense. And Rebecca, I just noticed his license lapsed. I mean, would we necessarily been notified if his license lapsed of the indictment anyways?
We probably would not. There are several ways we will get that information. Sometimes we see it in the news. Sometimes we get it from the Federation if they're licensed in another state. Occasionally, our own investigators will have wind of it through some kind of task force or something. So it can come in a variety of different ways.
Okay, but I just know that this was last in the state. I thought it would be invigorating to even notify us because it was a practice thing.
That certainly could be a factor. We did change our out-of-state protocol about 2 years ago so that the board would actually open complaints and take actions on people who had prescribing felonies, even if their license was lapsed, because we felt that was important for public notification and also in case they tried to restore here. Prior to that time, the complaints were basically protocol closed and they did not come before you.
Okay, thanks, President.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Okay. So let's have a roll call then, please, to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and order as presented in the matter of Dr. Griggle, Dr. Rockwell. You're on mute, Kim.
All right, abstain.
Quite all right. Dr. Stafford?
Abstain.
Mr. Jackalow? Sorry, Mr. Jackalow?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Stone?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gamadakis? Mr. Gamadakis is on mute.
No, I'm not. I'm not on mute.
Okay, you got a yes on that?
Yeah, yes, I'm not on mute.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
Feiler?
Yes.
Dr. Beckman?
Or aye. Abstain.
Okay, and myself, yes. Thank you. Let's turn to the matter, please, of W.L. Gregory Seifert, MD. No objections have been filed. This week was the hearing exam. Is there a motion to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and order in the matter of Dr. Seifert?
So moved. Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnson, thank you. And second? Second. Dr. Bechtel, thank you. I will now entertain discussion concerning the matter of Dr. Seifert. Is there any discussion? So I would say that this is a case of litigation, right? The state has shown, the defense counsel acknowledges that the doctor entered into an agreed order in which his license to practice medicine in Kentucky was restricted. So this is a bootstrap. As has been pointed out, the doctor is well trained, but that really just makes the Kentucky board's findings that much more concerning because it implies a negligence on the doctor's part. He should have known better than to practice in the manner in which he did. Having said that, I think the doctor has taken responsibility for his actions. He did not try to minimize his concerning behavior. He was not defensive about it in testimony. He has shown what I perceive to be a genuine willingness to rectify the areas of concern in his practice. An independent expert opined that the doctor has appropriately addressed the Kentucky board's concerns regarding his medical practice. There are multiple letters of support for the doctor by other healthcare professionals. And there are multiple mitigating factors. There is no prior disciplinary record. I perceive an absence of dishonest or selfish motive. I think that this behavior is unlikely to occur. He's made full and free disclosure to the board. He has expressed remorse. There's been no adverse impact of his misconduct on others of which we are aware. I do not perceive the conduct to have been willful or reckless. He corrected his behavior after recognizing its existence, making changes to his practice and taking multiple CME courses. So these factors lead me to agree with the hearing examiner's decision not to include a suspension in the proposed order. And I point that out in particular because our board is very sensitive to issues laid out in the Kentucky order. But I think this doctor has demonstrated that he's a good candidate for litigation. I think he's been amenable to it. So in that regard, I agree with the hearing examiner's findings of fast conclusions of law proposed order. I think it's a fair order, and I think it protects the public. Is there further discussion? Mr. Jacqueline. Mr. Jacqueline? Oh, sorry. Is there further discussion? Yes, sir. You're on mute.
Sorry. This one I kind of struggled with, only because I felt like there wasn't enough facts in here. With the bootstrap, it was difficult to discern the prescribing pattern at all, other than the allegation from Kevin Beauvoir that it was, out of scope. When we have comments like the issue of 1,800 controlled substance prescriptions for every 15 patients. Of course, the rebuttal to that is, look, I got these patients, they're in pain management, they're already high users, and I'm trying to wean them down. So it's a bit of, who do you believe here? You don't really have much information other than one document that was highly redacted. They're going to tell what the heck was going on there. So I guess this becomes a bit of, do we give this individual the benefit of the doubt? And that's where I'm kind of struggling with. I'd like to, I'm kind of curious to see Dr. Sloan's opinion on this. I mean, this is someone who is board certified, should know what they're doing. That is unusual, or is this something, that could be plausible in terms of an explanation that would, justify bringing this person in here, obviously with the restrictions that we put in place?
Dr. Sloan?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to say that I'll be abstaining in this particular case. However, I do want to say one thing that might be helpful, not particularly in this case, but in general. It is a plausible scenario where a pain management physician would inherit patients on extremely high doses of medicines and then be responsible to write those as they're undergoing the weaning process. That's not atypical. And especially sometimes when patients end up on extremely high doses, and then that particular practitioner doesn't feel comfortable writing them anymore, and they basically have no way where to go, sometimes they land up on our lap and we get stuck in that scenario. So a scenario like that is plausible. I'm not saying that's anything to do with this particular case, but.
Thank you, Dr. Sloan. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just as a clarification, when the Kentucky order talks about, or conversation about our restricted license, did I miss something in the Kentucky order with regard to his practicing in a pain management clinic?
Well, I think there was discussion to the effect that he's having trouble finding work in a pain management clinic. Yes.
But is that because he's got a limitation in Kentucky? Or is it because of the 50%, still the 50%? Is this a Kentucky restriction, a Kentucky problem?
I think it's an Ohio restriction. He can't.
It's the 50%,
Ohio.
and when we talk about a restricted license in Kentucky, they're just talking about the fact that when they say he has a restricted limited practice indefinitely, I don't understand the language, I guess. What's our equivalent? Is that it's indefinitely, he's going to have to keep doing controlled substance, he's going to have to have a couple of supervising docs say he's doing well. Is that what makes the restriction? But there's nothing that says thou shalt not do any more certain kind of drugs, certain scheduled drugs. It's just simply the restriction is because of his 2 years probation and his courses and his requiring having monitoring doctors. Is that what makes it restricted?
I thought I had read that they have it in their law, basically, that when you have an infraction of this nature, that it essentially automatically bars you and restricts your license in this way.
It's really tangential. I'm just trying to understand the future bootstraps coming from Kentucky. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Is there further discussion? So I guess in terms of that question about, how one could inherit a large practice of people who are, using substantial doses of opioid and such. There were times in the transcript in testimony where it seemed like the doctor himself acknowledged that he thought that, essentially he had been treated fairly in terms of how his matter has been dealt with over time. And so it made me feel like there was a relatively proportional response if the doctor himself saw it that way. Is there further discussion?
I would agree with that comment, and I think that does help me in voting for this proposed order.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Further discussion? Okay. A roll call vote, please, to approve and confirm the proposed findings of fact, conclusions, and orders presented in the matter of Dr. Seifert. Dr. Rockenwell?
Abstain.
Dr. Saffron? Abstain. Mr. Giacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan?
Abstain?
Dr. Pedrin?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Donadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feivel?
Yes.
Dr. Becker? And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to go into executive session to confer with the medical board's attorneys on matters of pending or imminent court action and for the purpose of deliberating on proposed consent agreement for the exercise of the medical board's quasi-judicial capacity. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Stafford?
Second?
Dr. Johnson, thank you. We'll have a roll call, please. Dr. Rockamore?
Yes.
Dr. Stafford?
Yes.
Dr. Stone, thank you. Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Stone?
Yes.
Dr. Edging?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feinberg?
Yes.
Dr. Becker?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Shafferty, yes. Thank you. So the time is now 9:28 a.m. and we're in executive session.
So, board members, if you'll just wait 1 second while we readjust with our live stream here.
Okay.
Okay, good to go.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent withdrawal with ABRCP?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel and
Second.
Ms. Montgomery, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothema?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Staying.
Mr. Jacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Kamadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes. Did we vote to
Dr.
come out
Feiler?
of this special executive session?
We came out.
Did we vote to do
You
that?
don't, you can't vote.
I don't think we vote.
No, a vote is not required.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for that. Dr. Feiler?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Dr. Shaughnessy, yes. Thank you. Ms. Marshall, Chief Enforcement Attorney, will now present the proposed citations to the board.
President Chelsea, members of the board, we have 6 proposed citations for you this month. The first is to be issued to an MD. It's based on a guilty plea to conspiracy to receive healthcare bribes and action by the Illinois Medical Board. This is not an immediate because this is not a drug felony and also his license is lapsed here. Citation number 2 is to be issued to an MD. It's based on action by the Indiana Medical Board related to self-prescribing. Citation number 3 is a summary suspension. It is based on impairment of failure to participate in a referral for one bite. Citation number 4 is to be issued to an MD applicant who has a history of actions taken by the boards in New York, Missouri, Texas, and California related to minimal standards. Citation number 5 is to be issued to an MD. It's based on action taken by the New Mexico Medical Board. And our final citation number 6 is to be issued to an MD. It is alleging acts constituting a felony in the course of practice, to wit, illegal processing or calling in prescriptions under the name of another prescriber without knowledge or consent. This is not an impairment situation. Thank you.
Thank you. We will be considering citation numbers 1 through 3 separately, so Dr. Bechtel may abstain or vote appropriately. Would any other board member like to consider that citation separately? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citation number 3, summary suspension?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Johnson?
Second.
Dr. Edgen? Thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rosenbaum? Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Jacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feiler?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Staying.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations 1 and 2?
So moved.
Ms. Montgomery and
Second.
Dr. Johnson, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothema?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Jacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen? Sorry, Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feiler?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Staying.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations 4, 5, and 6?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gonzalez and Dr. Johnson, I think. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothema?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Jacolone?
Yes.
Dr. Sloan?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feiler?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Ms. Stephanie Luca, Executive Director, will now present the operations report.
Thank you. I hope you can all hear me okay. You have the report. I won't go through all of the separate data points in the report. However, I did just want to take this opportunity to let you know that staff continues to produce and work diligently in our teleworking situation. The staff has been very receptive to kind of this change of workflow, and they've been very flexible and agile with us. So we're extremely grateful to our staff for making these adjustments as they're kind of in the midst of all of this. Productivity is continuing. I think probably investigations has the most difficult time because so many practices are closed right now, and so just getting through some of the investigations may take a little bit longer. But other than that, we have all adapted to getting the workflow done, and I just can't say enough good things about the staff and how well they're doing. So with that, I think the operations report really speaks for itself, and nothing really of note in the operations report. We are really doing, I think, pretty well with business as usual.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Is there any further discussion?
Stephanie, Mr. Chairman, Stephanie, I see you have a number of vacancies yet to be filled. Will those vacancies remain unfilled because of the 20% cut order by, or how are you still, what are you doing at this point? Of course, trying to figure out what you're going to do prospectively with regard to cuts when you're still in the middle of a pandemic is kind of a silly question, but what does that mean to our staff? And because I think we've all sort of come to a conclusion, given their caseload and the ages of our cases, that we probably need more staff, not less, or at least have to handle it in a different way. What is your thinking on that?
Right. Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. So we have been asked this fiscal year to take a 20% cut in the remainder of this fiscal year. We've identified those cuts through holding on the hiring of those positions at this time, as well as releasing most of the cut is coming from the release of encumbrances. We are on a state hiring freeze right now, so the choice really for us to fill those vacancies is a little out of our hands right now. I do think that as we move into fiscal year 21, we are going to have with all of you some real conversation around our staffing and what our needs are, and whether that means we have to think about rebalancing what our staff looks like to, as other vacancies maybe come open, so that we are filling different positions and that we're filling some positions and not others. I do think we have to be very mindful of that going forward when we know that we were already running what I would say short-staffed. So holding on those positions will be difficult, and actually then not increasing staff certainly doesn't help us with our backlog. So those are conversations that I think as we head into fiscal year 21 that we'll have to have as a board, and then have those conversations with the OBM as well. So whether that's looking for savings elsewhere or just really plotting that out and figuring out how we get to that. But I am concerned about that, yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there further discussion? Okay. For the next items of business, the board will discuss operationalizing the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The board members have been provided a summary of Ohio's COVID-19 emergency response bill, outlining specific sections that may impact the medical board. At this time, do any board members have questions about those items? Okay. Ohio's respiratory care therapists and anesthesiologist assistants will become critical players during the hospital surge. They have skills and training that will certainly help with the response. Currently, anesthesiologist assistants must work under a written practice protocol in Ohio. That protocol details the anesthesiologist assistant's scope of work that can be done under the supervision of a specific anesthesiologist. However, the COVID-19 emergency has and will continue to present unprecedented challenges to Ohio's healthcare systems and hospitals that will stress resources and personnel across all license types. In order to allow some flexibility for anesthesiologist assistants and the anesthesiologist supervising their practice, a motion is set forth below for the board's consideration. Is there a motion for the board to suspend enforcement of section 4760.08 Ohio Revised Code and Rule 4731-24-02 Ohio Administrative Code to the extent that a supervising anesthesiologist who supervises an anesthesiologist assistant shall not be required to adopt a written practice protocol? This suspension of enforcement shall be for the duration of the period of the declared COVID-19 emergency. The medical board shall provide notice to licensees when the enforcement suspension is lifted. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Edgen, and second is Bechtel. Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. Is there discussion? Dr. Rothman.
Just to clarify, this is solely for the written protocol, not that we're suspending the supervision, correct?
Correct. Further discussion? Okay, roll call please. Dr. Rothman.
Yes.
Dr. Sappman.
Yes.
Mr. Jackalone.
Yes.
Dr. Swan.
Yes.
Dr. Edgen.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Vamadakis.
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery.
Yes.
Dr. Feibel.
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel.
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. We also see an opportunity to help support workforce capacity by allowing the respiratory care practitioners who currently hold a limited permit to practice alongside their colleagues who have already received a full license. Currently, Ohio regulations require that a graduate-based limited permit holder be supervised by a licensed respiratory care professional. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has required the board to reconsider this. Therefore, it is the board's position that if a licensed respiratory care professional is not available in the facility due to circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 emergency, the board recognizes that revised code 4761.17b allows a physician, certified nurse practitioner, certified nurse midwife, certified nurse specialist, or physician assistant to also supervise a graduate-based respiratory care limited permit holder. Is there discussion? Okay. And some additional thoughts on this matter. It will still be up to the hospital to allow the L1s to have full scope of practice. We as a board do not want to be a hindrance, but rather want to allow for flexibility. That way, hospital systems have the option of bringing the L1 respiratory care practitioners into their workforce. Thank you. This position statement will be published on our website with other action taken by the board related to the pandemic response soon after this meeting. The next item of business addresses Ohio Revised Code 4729.39, which establishes the use of consult agreements between physicians and pharmacists. The pharmacy board has asked that the medical board would approve allowing physicians to delegate their responsibilities under consult agreements to advanced practice registered nurses and physician assistants. This would apply only to hospital or institutional settings, not retail pharmacies. This would apply only during the COVID-19 emergency. So a motion for your consideration. In conjunction with the Board of Pharmacy and the Board of Nursing, the board shall allow physicians practicing under a consult agreement in a hospital or institutional setting to delegate duties to an advanced practice registered nurse or physician assistant for the period of the declared COVID-19 emergency. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel and
Second.
Mr. Jackalone, thank you. Is there discussion?
Dr. Schatz, Mike Vamadakis,
Yes, sir.
is our motion clear enough on when this is to end? I mean, I read the motion, I've heard the motion, but do we need more clarity on when this is going to cease? I mean, is it, because, I'll defer to you guys as licensed physicians here, but, I mean, is this ever gonna end? I mean, really, we've had multiple instances in the past, whether it be H1N1 swine, we don't have vaccines for, so, if we foresee this going on in perpetuity, that's my concern. Now, I support the motion, but do we have finite language in there to make sure this ends?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about the declared COVID-19 emergency, we need the emergency order issued by the governor. And so essentially, when he lists that order is when we would, for all intents and purposes, consider that, emergency over at that point. That would be our stop date.
Maybe we should have the language. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Funk.
I was just gonna say, maybe the language should say declare COVID-19 emergency as declared by the governor and lifted by and will stop when lifted by the governor. Just to be clear.
I certainly think that's fine. Is there further discussion about that?
Yeah, one question about that. I mean, when the emergency order ends, does that mean everything's right and there isn't any phase out here? I mean, that's my only concern. If we make it hard and government says, okay, emergency's off, that's it, everything stops. I mean, there should be a little bit of a tail on that, don't you think?
I was on the phone call with the pharmacy board about this, and I think this is for the purpose of the surge only. So I think the governor is not going to lift the COVID emergency until the surge is over. So this is just to allow the nurse practitioners and PAs to do this while the surge is going on. So technically, we could even shorten this time frame. I think the declared COVID-19 emergency by the governor is a good, I don't think anyone's going to abuse that in this period of time, but this is really for the surge. So I don't think we need a tail off period past the COVID emergency.
Thank you, Dr. Feivel. Is there further discussion?
Here's my only thing. I don't necessarily disagree. First, it should apply across the board, not just the pharmacy, the PAs, for everybody trying to do that. Secondly, it's great in theory, I'm just not sure in practice. I hate to have this hard and fast rule and then all of a sudden we're scrambling to reinstitute it. Again, if we want to go with the emergency order, that's fine. I wouldn't want to do it any less than the emergency order.
Fair enough. Thank you. Further discussion?
Dr. Bechtel, you're the board member leading this motion. Do you agree to adding the language on the end that Dr. Feivel had suggested regarding the specifying what the government says?
Yes, I agree.
Is there any objection from any board member to making that change in the motion? And we'll accept that as a motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, when the order ceases, this ceases, right?
That's how it's written.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're aligned. We had a couple of discussions here.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please. Dr. Rockenwell?
Yes.
Dr. Saffron?
Yes.
Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Swain?
Yes.
Dr. Edgins?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson? Oh, forgive me, Dr. Johnson? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Vanadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feivel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Shafstein, yes. Next, I wanted to take a minute to discuss telemedicine. As you recall, the board held a special meeting on March 18th. During that meeting, we voted to suspend enforcement of any regulations requiring in-person visits between providers and patients. I feel that it is worth mentioning to the public that the Medical Board of Ohio has two existing statutory provisions that support out-of-state telemedicine. Ohio Revised Code 4731.36 allows out-of-state doctors flexibility for telemedicine in two ways. First, doctors in other states who have patients who may be stuck in or visiting Ohio during this crisis can continue to treat those patients via telemedicine. For example, a New York doctor may have a college student from Ohio under continuous care during the school year. If the college student came home to Ohio to reside with parents, the New York doctor can still provide teletreatment. Second, doctors in contiguous states may have existing patient relationships with Ohio residents. For example, a Michigan doctor may have a Toledo resident who comes to the doctor for care. The Michigan doctor may continue to treat the Toledo patient via telemedicine. Next, I want to take a moment to talk about additional workforce capacity responses that we have heard may be happening in other states. These responses in other states include having out-of-state licensees come into a state or allowing inactive licensees to practice. Unfortunately, Ohio does not have the legal mechanism to allow out-of-state licensees to practice in Ohio, except for the above-mentioned scenarios. Additionally, Ohio does not have the legal mechanism to automatically reactivate inactive licensees. In the event that the medical board is provided the legal authority to allow out-of-state licensees or inactive licensees to practice in Ohio, we did a survey of board members to gauge favorability. The response was that we, as the State Medical Board of Ohio, are comfortable with issuing those emergency licenses. Of course, some parameters will be necessary to ensure the health and safety of our citizens. So I think it's fair to say that the medical board is ready with our process for this type of licensing. The secretary and supervising member would like feedback from the board members regarding board-ordered chemical dependency evaluations during the COVID-19 pandemic. Unlike forensic psychiatric evaluations, which are currently being conducted by video, chemical dependency examinations must be conducted in person due to the laboratory component. This holds true for massage therapist outpatient exams, as well as the mandatory 72-hour inpatient requirement for other licensing types. Additionally, other types of board-ordered evaluations, such as neurological assessments or occupational medicine assessments, necessarily require an in-person component. Board members, you have all received the memo and recommendation from Ms. Marshall regarding board-ordered evaluations during the pandemic. I would now like to open up the floor for discussion. Is there discussion? So, I appreciated the thoughts of the secretary and supervising member. I think that it makes sense that we be able to continue to have the psychiatric evaluations on video. And I think that the other recommendations certainly seem reasonable as well in terms of the applicants who are not a risk for patient harm that are not practicing, that we defer those assessments. And that essentially the others where we suspect inability to practice because of potential impairment or other factors, that we just assess those case by case. Any other thoughts about that? Okay. And so I would say then finally.
Dr. Schottenstein.
Dr. Schottenstein,
Oh, please.
Dr. Maloney.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Michael. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, we're weighing the pros and cons on this, and I think the benefits outweigh the risks. So I would agree with you. I think it makes sense to provide a little bit of deference on some of these situations.
Thank you so much. Is there further discussion? Okay, thank you. So finally, and most important, we want to say thank you to those physicians, physician assistants, respiratory care therapists, and all other healthcare providers working tirelessly in the face of this pandemic, protecting and healing Ohioans. They are the true heroes on the front lines of this war, and the medical board remains grateful for their dedication. I urge our licensees to please take a few moments to ensure their own health and safety. Crisis fatigue is real, burnout is real. We know we haven't even headed into the surge of this pandemic yet. The medical board will be providing links to resources to our licensees to help cope with this crisis. Additionally, we encourage our licensees to reach out to the Ohio Physicians Health Program when feeling the stress and burden of the pandemic. If everybody likes, we can keep going. Does anybody need a break? Shall we proceed?
Proceed.
Okay. This month we are incorporating committee work into the full board meeting. So next on the agenda, we will be going through each committee and addressing any business that needs to be conducted for April. First, our Dietetics and Respiratory Care Advisory Councils. And Jill Weeder, if you'd be so kind.
President and members of the board, there are 3 positions open to be filled on the Dietetics Advisory Council. It is recommended after interviews and taking into consideration recommendations by the Ohio Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics that Carmen Clutter be reappointed to the Dietetics Advisory Council as a licensed dietitian member, that Kathy Shalito be appointed to fill the 2nd open licensed dietitian position on the council, and that David Rearson be reappointed as the consumer representative.
Thank you so much. Is there discussion?
I just wanted to, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to congratulate Jill and Stephanie. It's so nice to see us reaching out and having a real conversation and having them engage. Best way to take folks who are used to operating individually to become part of our umbrella. And I think that goes a long way. And thanks so much for your interaction with them. I know it takes more time. Democracy is a little inefficient sometimes, but it's helped a great deal, and I think it helps a great deal. So thank you so much, Jill and Stephanie and the rest of the staff.
Thank you.
The advisory board.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery.
Thank you so much. Is there further discussion? So we can have a voice vote on a motion to that effect to reappoint Ms. Carmen Clutter, as well as the appointment of Ms. Kathy Shalito to the vacant dietetic member positions, and to reappoint Mr. David Ryerson to the consumer member seat. All in favor? Or do we have a motion? So Dr. Saffron and Dr. Edgen second. All in favor? And I vote aye. All opposed? Thank you. And so we'll turn now to appointments to Respiratory Care Advisory Council. Jill, if you do so kind.
There are two positions to be filled on the Respiratory Care Advisory Council, both for licensed respiratory care member positions. It is recommended after interviews and in taking in consideration recommendations by the Ohio Society for Respiratory Care that Saja Keller be reappointed to the Respiratory Care Advisory Council and that Karen May be appointed to the council.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect? Dr. Edgen and Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. Any discussion? Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. For Finance Committee, there are no minutes to approve as that committee was incorporated into the full board meeting in March. So I'll just give an update. So looking at our fiscal update for February 2020, revenue was $866,655. We had a net fiscal revenue of $124,474, and our cash balance increased to $5,296,559. These are good numbers for us. We had been anticipating additional high revenue months for the rest of the fiscal year, especially for June, when respiratory therapists and dietitians are supposed to renew. But with the passage of House Bill 197, the deadline for licensure rules has been pushed back to as late as December. So it's likely that many licensees will wait until the deadline to renew their licenses. That means we could experience a decrease in revenue for several months, followed by an upsurge in revenue toward the end of the calendar year. Our expenditures are down 5.5% year to date as compared to 1 year ago. So revenue is up, expenditures are down, and right now we're in a financially healthy place. But having said that, we have been asked to make a budget reduction of $259,209 for fiscal year 2020 by the Ohio Office of Budget Management. The board has taken several measures to absorb that budget reduction: a freeze or delay of all non-essential hires, a release of contracts for victim advocates with the thought of utilizing internal resources instead, a freeze or delay of all non-essential equipment purchases, reduction or cancellation of expert contractors who are not currently working, and we will re-encumber when those funds are available. We will cancel process server contracts and utilize internal resources. We will reduce mobile home services. We will discontinue the use of temporary personnel, and we will reduce other encumbrances and minimal requirements. We will likely be asked to make cuts for fiscal year 2021. We're not sure as to the degree of cuts at this time, but there'll probably be more. And so we have unspent payroll money due to vacancies, and we've talked about that. We've been moving that money around essentially to other categories, such as case review, which is ongoing. And we have money set aside for experts that we are likely not going to use because we always over-encumber those funds. We've been asked to make these cuts even though our funds do not come from the general revenue fund. So right now, we don't know exactly what's going to happen to that $259,200. At some point, it may just be transferred out of our cash balance. You may have noticed on the fiscal summary page that there's been an uptick in the amount of money spent on historical case review. We are 25% through our historical case review with regard to the sexual misconduct cases. And, that's a priority for us to keep that going, even through this difficult time. Those numbers will be substantially higher when we review the March numbers, which is a good thing. It's a reflection of the progress that we're making in this endeavor. With regard to the fines summary report for February 2020, we received fines from 3 sources: disciplinary fines, CME non-disciplinary fines, and money received from collections. That totals $33,155.23 for the month of February. We have received $138,452 in total fines year to date, out of total fines assessed of $246,000. So that concludes my report. I'd be glad to give communications update regarding education and outreach and other board magazine matters for Tessie, please.
Sure, let me come closer to the microphone. Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein.
Thank you.
The communications team has been almost solely focused on COVID responses. We get updates daily from the Joint Information Center at the Emergency Operations Center. A lot of important messages to push out to our licensees because, as you said, they are the ones on the front line. So it's been almost daily email blasts. Our webpage is dedicated solely to all those resources, whether it's the latest testing guidance, PPE guidance, We're getting a lot of information also from DEA on prescribing. So we're making sure that we relay that information to our licensees as quickly as possible. And just making sure that all the available resources are there. The magazine is still in process. Julie is doing a great job working through that, even though we are trying to spread all of our resources to cover the emergency response as well. You were provided in the operations report some digital communications updates and analytics. Those are really fascinating. There were definitely some changes this month because of the pandemic. So if you want to look through those and just see how people are using our digital communications, whether that's websites, social media, there's a lot more LinkedIn activity as well. That's really good to review. That is my report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, Dr. Bechtel will be presenting an update from the Medical Marijuana Committee.
First, we'd like to review the minutes from our last committee meeting. So I may please have a motion to approve the March 11th, 2020 Medical Marijuana Expert Review Committee minutes as drafted.
So moved.
Second.
So Dr. Sullivan, Mr. Jackalone, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor with a voice vote? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you.
The committee is continuing
Abstain.
in reviewing information submitted for potential new qualifying conditions. This includes anxiety, autism, and cachexia. So we look forward to bringing more information before the full board in upcoming meetings. And that is my update for the April 8th meeting.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bechtel. The Sexual Misconduct Committee last met in the morning before the last board meeting. So our first order of business is the review of those minutes. May I please have a motion to approve the March 11th, 2020 Sexual Misconduct minutes as drafted?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel, Dr. Edgen, thank you. Discussion. All in favor, voice vote, please. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. While work has been a bit reprioritized with the COVID-19 response, the work on the task force recommendations continues. We have seen vast improvements in progress on our historical case review, with over 25% of the over 1,200 identified licenses reviewed. That completed review work now moves to our internal team for further investigation and possible enforcement or to review closed. That internal work will continue over the next year. And I would also just mention that we have completed 75% of the work group action plan tasks overall. Making progress. Drafting work on recommended statutory changes continues. We should have feedback from our last meeting, as well as stakeholder feedback incorporated into those drafts and shared with the board in an upcoming meeting. Finally, we would point out that our SMBO webpage has been updated to reflect high-level details on open and closed complaints. This is very much a work in progress. We need to put more detail around it, as well as adapt it to reviewer feedback. That being said, this was a very big data list, so we are grateful to the staff for this accomplishment. That concludes my report for the Sexual Misconduct Committee. Next, Dr. Stone will present the Policy Committee, please.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. Policy Committee has devoted its entire efforts to the COVID-19 response, and as such, the entire committee and all the action items were the items that were presented earlier today in the board meeting. We do have one item that we do have to vote on, and that is to approve the last Policy Committee meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Edgen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries, and that concludes the Policy Committee report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Solon. Next is Licensure Committee presented by Dr. Sanford.
Thank you. Our first item of business is minutes to review. So may I please have a motion to approve the March 11th, 2020 Licensure Committee minutes as drafted?
So moved. Second.
All in,
Dr. Edgen.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The next item of business will be licensure applications. Our first one is Joanna Alford, MP. Ms. Alford has applied for restoration of her Ohio massage therapy license. Ms. Alford indicates on her application that she has not practiced massage therapy within the past 5 years. She passed the massage and bodywork licensing examination, MBLEX, on October 18, 2019. Because Ms. Alford passed the MBLEX within the past 2 years, staff recommends granting her application for restoration. Do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Alford's application for restoration of her Ohio license as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We'll say Dr. Johnson, Dr. Bechtel, thank you.
Any discussion?
Yes. We've had this discussion before, and it's different because there's no CME stuff with them or anything like that. But 5 years without practicing massage therapy, then just grant them a license, I just kind of, it still bothers me a little bit.
But she was able to pass her exam, and not, it would be like passing any other exam. She was able to do that with the knowledge that she has.
No, I agree that I appreciate what you're saying, but would you want somebody operating on your foot that hadn't done surgery for 5 years?
No, but I don't think,
my point.
I don't think massage therapy is a similar situation. Dr. Rothermel?
So we had this same question in licensure committee within the past few months. And we did reach out to experts in the field and people that headed the massage therapy schools to ask the question, is passing the MBLEX sufficient for somebody who has been out of practice of massage therapy for several years? And it was a consensus that it was adequate, that if they can pass the MBLEX, that they were very comfortable that they could get back into practice. So that's the data that the licensure committee was using.
Any other discussion? We would take a roll call vote. Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soin?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
Dr. Schottenstein?
Yes.
Our next is Kristin Beauvoir. Ms. Beauvoir has applied for massage therapy license. She has not been licensed in any jurisdiction and never passed the practice massage therapy. However, Ms. Beauvoir passed the MBLEX on December 30th, 2019. Because of her recently passing the MBLEX, staff recommends granting her application for licensure. Do I hear a motion to approve her application for an Ohio license as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel?
Second?
Dr. Johnson, any discussion? A roll call vote. Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Jackalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soin?
Yes.
Dr. Edgen?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery?
Yes.
Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
Dr. Schottenstein?
Yes.
Next is David Wang, MD. Dr. Wang has applied for a medical license in Ohio. He has less than 24 months of postgraduate training in the United States, but is requesting that his experience and training in Australia, combined with 21 months of acceptable training he has received in the United States, be deemed equivalent to 24 months of graduate medical education through the second year level of graduate medical education pursuant to section 4731.09A4B of the Ohio Revised Code. Dr. Wang's education and work experience is outlined in the memo in the board meeting material dated March 31st, 2020. Do I hear a motion to grant the graduate medical education equivalents as outlined in 4731.09A4B so that Dr. Wang may be granted a license?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Bechtel second and Ms. Montgomery made the motion. Is there discussion? Roll call vote, please. Dr. Rothermel.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Giacalone.
Yes.
Dr. Soin.
Yes.
Dr. Edgen.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis.
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery.
Yes.
Dr. Feibel.
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel.
Yes.
Dr. Schottenstein. Thank you. This concludes the licensure committee.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sapper. Next on the agenda, please turn to the compliance section. Do I hear a motion to approve the compliance staff's reports for conferences for March 10th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Johnson, Dr. Sapper, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Yes.
Dr. Sapper,
Yes.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Edgen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery.
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel.
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. At this time, we will consider the probationary requests in today's agenda that have been prepared by the Standards Review compliance staff and distributed to board members. Before asking for a motion, does any board member wish to consider a probationary request separately? Do I hear a motion to approve the secretary and supervising members' recommendations for the probationary requests?
So moved.
Dr. Johnson?
Second.
Mr. Giacalone, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Sapper,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Edgen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you. Next is a reinstatement request regarding Michael Anakia, MD. Dr. Anakia has requested the board reinstate his license under the terms of the January 9th, 2019 board order. Dr. Anakia is eligible to reinstate his license and has met the required conditions for reinstatement. Do I hear a motion to approve the request for reinstatement of the license of Michael Anakia, effective immediately, subject to the probationary terms and conditions as outlined in the January 9th, 2019 board order for a minimum of 5 years?
Move.
Mr. Giacalone?
Second.
Dr. Edgen, thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Sapper,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Edgen,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. That concludes the April 8th, 2020 meeting of the State Medical Board of Ohio. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Dr. Johnson, Dr. Bechtel, thank you. Voice vote, all in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the time is 10:19 a.m. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Nathan?